Hello, my lovely lunatics. We just got done reading chapter 16 of The Secret History of the World, an adult bedtime stories, and I still have to edit it. So we're also going to read a quick chapter of Zen and the Art of Archery by Eugen Hiragel. We might read 2 chapters because I think these ones are like really short. So these are quick to edit and get up just to get a video up for you guys. And by the time this is up, I will probably be almost done editing that chapter also. If you've not already subscribed, please do that. Smash the thumbs up button. If you are enjoying Zen and the Art of Archery, ring the notification bell so you get notified when new chapters go up. And let's get into it. Why I took up Zen and for this purpose set out to learn the art of archery needs some explanation. Even as a student, I had, as though driven by a secret urge, been preoccupied with mysticism despite the mood of the times, which had little use for such interests. For all my exertions, however, I became increasingly aware that I could only approach these esoteric writings from the outside, and though I knew how to circle around what one may call the primordial mystic phenomena, I was unable to leap over the line which surrounded the mystery like a high wall. Nor could I find exactly what I sought in the extension literature of mysticism, and disappointed and discouraged, I gradually came to realize that only the truly detached can understand what is meant by detachment, and that only the contemplative who is completely empty and rid of the self is ready to become one with the transcendent deity. I had realized, therefore, that there is and can be no other way to mysticism than the way of personal experience and suffering, and that, if this premise is lacking, all talk about it, so much empty chatter. But how does one become a mystic? How attain the state of real, and not just imaginary, detachment? Is there still a way to it, even for those who are separated by the abyss of the centuries from the great masters? For the modern man who has grown up under totally different conditions. Nowhere did I find anything approaching satisfactory answers to my questions, even though I was told about the stages and stations of a way that promised to lead to the goal. To trend this way, I lacked the precise, methodical instructions which might substitute for a master, at least the part of the journey. But would such instructions, even if there were any, suffice? If it is not more probable that, at best, they only create a readiness to receive something which even the best method cannot provide, and that the mystical experience therefore cannot be induced by any disposition known to man. However I looked at it, I found myself confronted by locked doors, and yet I could not refrain from constantly rattling at the handles, but the longing persisted, and when it grew weary, the longing for this longing. Then, therefore, I was asked, I had in the meantime become a lecturer at a university, whether I would like to teach philosophy at the University of Tokyo. I welcomed this opportunity of getting to know the country and people of Japan with especial joy, if only because it held out the prospect of my making contact with Buddhism, and hence with an introspective practice of mysticism. For this much I had already heard, that there were in Japan a carefully guarded and living tradition of Zen, an art of instruction that had been tested over the centuries, and most important of all, teachers of Zen, astonishingly well versed in the art of spiritual guidance. Scarcely had I begun to find my way about in the new millennium, when I set out to realize my desire, I at once met with embarrassed refusals. Never yet, I was told, had any European seriously concerned himself with Zen, and since Zen repudiated the least trace of teaching, it was not to be expected that it would satisfy me theoretically. It cost me many hours before I succeeded in making them understand why I wished to devote myself, specifically to the non-speculative form of Zen. Thereupon I was informed that it was quite hopeless for a European to attempt to penetrate into this realm of spiritual life, perhaps the strangest which the Far East has to offer, unless he began by learning one of the Japanese arts associated with Zen. The thought of having to go through a kind of preparatory schooling did not deter me. I felt ready to go to any length, if only there were some hope of my getting a bit nearer to Zen. In a roundabout way, however wearisome, seemed better to me than no way at all. But to which of the arts named for this purpose should I subscribe? My wife, after a little hesitation, decided for flower arrangement and painting, while the art of archery seemed more suitable for me. As it latter turned out, completely erroneous assumption that my experiences in rifle and pistol shooting would be to my advantage, I begged one of my colleagues, xoxo, a professor of jurisprudence who had been taking lessons in archery for 20 years and who was rightly regarded as the best exponent of this art at the university, to enter my name as a pupil with his former teacher, the celebrated master Kenzo Awa. The master first refused my request, saying that he had once been misguided enough to instruct a foreigner and had regretted the experience ever since. He was not prepared to make concessions a second time in order to spare the pupil the burden of the peculiar spirit of this art. Only when I protested that a master who took his job so seriously could well treat me as his youngest pupil, seeing that I wished to learn this art not for pleasure but for the sake of the great doctrine, did he accept me as his pupil, together with my wife, since it has long been customary in Japan for girls to be instructed in this art, and since the master's wife and 2 daughters were diligent practitioners. And so began the long, strenuous course of instruction in which our friend Mr. Komachiya, who pleaded our cause so obstinately and almost stood guarantee for us, participated as interpreter. At the same time, my good fortune in being invited to attend my wife's lessons in flower arrangement and painting held out the prospect of my winning a still broader bias of understanding through constant comparison of these mutually complementary arts. Alright, so that was chapter 2. Let me know in the comments how you're liking Zen and the Art of Archery. Subscribe if you haven't already, smash the thumbs up button, and ring the notification bell so you get notified next time we read a chapter. Thank you so much, my lovely lunatics. Until next time, goodbye.